Story 1. The Weaver's Secret. Chapter 1. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the channel, where tonight we're diving into something juicy, heartfelt, and just a little bit scandalous. A tale of love, secrecy, and resilience in medieval Europe. Picture this: muddy villages, candlelit looms, and a world where falling in love could get you in more trouble than stealing the Lord's best horse. So, grab a cozy drink, hit that like button if you're excited, and let's weave our way into this story together. Oh, and drop a comment to let me know where you're watching from and what time it is there. I love seeing who's joining us from across the globe. Our story begins in a small village in 13th century England, where the air smells of damp wool and fresh bread, and the church bells dictate the rhythm of life. Meet Edith, a weaver with fingers so nimble she could spin thread fine enough to impress even the pickiest merchant. Edith's not just good at her craft, she's got a spark in her eye and a laugh that makes the local baker blush. But here's the catch. Edith's got a secret, one that could unravel her life faster than a poorly spun skein. See, Edith's in love. Not the arranged marriage to secure 2 acres and a cow kind of love, but the real deal, the kind that makes your heart race when you spot a certain someone across the market square. His name's Thomas, a blacksmith's apprentice with arms like oak branches and a smile that could melt iron. Problem is, Thomas is promised to another, a merchant's daughter named Alina, whose dowry includes enough coin to set the blacksmith up for life. In medieval times, love doesn't trump land deals, and Edith knows it. Now, let's set the scene. Most folks in this village live in one-room homes, where the hearth doubles as the kitchen, bedroom, and occasional goat pen. Privacy! Forget it. If Edith and Thomas want to steal a moment together, they've got to be clever. They meet by the river at dusk, when the village is too busy with chores to notice. The water's gurgling, the air's cool, and for a few minutes, they can pretend the world isn't watching. But it's risky. Walls are thin. Gossip travels fast. And the church has a lot to say about what goes on behind closed. Well, shared curtains. The church? Oh boy, let's talk about it. Back then, it wasn't just about Sunday sermons. It had rules for everything, including love, physical intimacy, strictly for making babies. Anything else was a sin. And the priests weren't shy about asking nosy questions during confession. Did you enjoy it too much? They'd probe, as if joy was a crime. Certain days were off limits. Sundays, Fridays, Lent, Advent, you name it. Edith and Thomas have to check the calendar just to hold hands without divine side-eye. And if they get caught, public shame, fines, or worse, a sermon with the priest staring straight at them. But Edith's no fool. She's practical. Like most peasant women, her life revolves around her loom, her family, and avoiding the reeves' wandering hands at the market. Love's a luxury, but it's one she's willing to fight for. She and Thomas come up with a plan. They'll meet in secret, maybe leave coded messages in the patterns of her weaving a red thread here, a blue knot there. It's risky, but it's thrilling. And honestly, in a world where your biggest excitement is the annual harvest fair, a little danger feels alive. Now, let's zoom out. Medieval romance wasn't all moonlit whispers and stolen glances. For most folks, it was a business deal. Marriages were about land, alliances, or settling who owned that pesky cabbage patch. Edith's family wants her to marry a widower with a decent flock of sheep. But she's not having it. Thomas, meanwhile, is under pressure to seal the deal with Alina. If he backs out, his master might kick him out of the forge. Love's not just a feeling here, it's a rebellion. The church's rules make things trickier. They've got lists, actual lists of forbidden days for intimacy. Half the year's off limits. And if you're feeling frisky during Lent, good luck explaining that to the priest. Edith's heard stories of couples scolded for excessive affection, which apparently means more than once a month. She's not devout enough to care about every rule, but she's smart enough to keep her head down. Thomas, on the other hand, is a bit of a dreamer. He talks about running away to a town where no one knows them. But Edith knows that's a fantasy. Towns are small, and strangers are suspect. Still, they find ways to bend the rules. They slip away during village feasts, when everyone's too drunk on ale to notice. They share a quick kiss behind the barn, hoping the pigs don't snitch. It's not much, but it's enough to keep them going. And Edith's weaving, it's her cover. She spends hours at her loom, her hands moving like they're telling a story. The villagers praise her skill, but they don't see the hidden messages in her cloth patterns that only Thomas understands. One night, things get complicated. Edith's at the river, waiting for Thomas, when she hears footsteps. It's not him, it's Alina, the merchant's daughter, with a look that could curdle milk. Alina's no fool either. She's heard whispers, seen the way Thomas lingers near Edith's stall. You think you can steal him, she hisses. Edith's heart pounds, but she stands her ground. I'm not stealing what's already mine, she says, bold as brass. It's a dangerous move. Alina's got money, influence, and a father who owns half the village. Alina storms off, and Edith knows trouble's brewing. If Alina talks, the whole village will know by sunrise. Gossip spreads faster than the plague, and Edith's reputation could be ruined. She needs a plan, and fast. She thinks about her loom, her one asset. Maybe she can sell a special cloth to a traveling merchant, earn enough to leave with Thomas. Or maybe she can confront Alina, appeal to her heart. But that's a long shot. Medieval mean, girls don't negotiate. As the chapter closes, Edith's sitting at her loom, the candle flickering. She's weaving a new pattern, one that feels like a prayer. She's not sure what's coming. Shame, exile, or maybe a miracle. But she knows one thing. She's not giving up on Thomas. In a world of rules and restrictions, their love is her defiance. And that's worth every risk. Thanks for joining me tonight. Folks, if you're loving this story, smash that like button and subscribe for the next chapter. Let me know in the comments what you think Edith should do next. And as always, keep chasing your own sparks, even if the world's telling you to play it safe. See you soon. Word count Tillert it ID7. Story 1. The Weaver's Secret. Chapter 2. Hey, everybody! Welcome back to the channel, where we're picking up right where we left off in our medieval love saga. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and check out Chapter 1 to catch up. Tonight, we're diving deeper into Edith and Thomas's forbidden romance, where the stakes are higher, the gossips spicier, and the church is still way too nosy. Drop a comment with where you're tuning in from and what time it is. I'm curious who's out there vibing with us. Let's get cozy and jump back into the muddy, romantic mess of 13th century England. Edith's at her loom, the village quiet, except for the distant bleat of sheep. Her fingers move fast, weaving a cloth that's more than just fabric. It's her ticket to freedom. After Alina's threat by the river, Edith knows time's running out. The merchant's daughter isn't just jealous. She's got the power to ruin everything. If Alina tells her father about Edith and Thomas, the village will turn on them. Edith could lose her trade, her home, maybe even her chance to stay with Thomas. But Edith's not the type to sit and cry over spilled ale. She's got a plan, and it starts with her best weapon, her skill. See, Edith's weaving isn't just good, it's legendary. Her patterns are so intricate. Merchants from York have started asking for her by name. She's been saving up, hiding a few coins under a loose floorboard. If she can make something extraordinary, maybe a tapestry for a noble's hall, she could sell it for enough to start over with Thomas somewhere new. It's a long shot, but it's all she's got. She works late into the night, her candle burning low, weaving a scene of a knight and a lady under a starry sky. It's her and Thomas, coded into the threads. Meanwhile, Thomas is sweating in the forge, hammering iron and dodging his master's questions. The blacksmith, a gruff man named Godric, has noticed Thomas's distraction. "You're not thinking of that weaver girl, are you?" he growls. Thomas mumbles something about needing more charcoal, but his heart's not in it. He's torn. Marrying Alina would secure his future. Godric's promised to make him a full partner in the forge. But every time he thinks of Edith, his resolve crumbles. He's not just in love. He's alive with her in a way he's never been. Life in this village doesn't make things easy. Medieval folks didn't have the luxury of private apartments or late-night coffee shops. Most homes are one room, shared by parents, kids, and the occasional chicken with boundary issues. If Thomas wants to see Edith, they've got to time it perfectly when the village is asleep or distracted by a Saint's Day feast. And the church. It's like a medieval HOA, always watching. Intimacy's supposed to be for procreation only. And priests love quizzing couples about their intentions. Thomas and Edith have to whisper their plans, careful not to let their voices carry through the village's thin walls. The church's grip on love is tight. They've got rules for when you can be close. Wednesdays are iffy. Sundays are a hard no. And don't even think about Lent. Edith's heard of couples dragged before the priest for immodest affection, which could mean anything from a stolen kiss to a full-on rendezvous. Confession's the worst. Priests ask questions so specific. You'd think they were writing a manual. Did you embrace with passion? One might ask, and Edith's learned to keep her answers vague. But the threat of exposure looms large, especially with Alina sniffing around. Edith's not just fighting gossip, she's fighting the system. Medieval marriage was less about love and more about strategy. Families paired off daughters to secure alliances or settle debts. Edith's parents want her to marry that sheep-owning widower, not some apprentice with no land. Thomas's engagement to Alina is a done deal in everyone's eyes. But his, breaking it could spark a feud between families. Or worse, get him banished from the forge. Love's not just risky, it's a full-on revolt against the village's order. One evening, Edith takes a chance. She slips a message to Thomas. Tucked into a bundle of cloth, she delivers to the forge. It's a simple note, woven into the hem. Meet me at the old oak. Midnight. The oak's on the edge of the village. Far enough to avoid prying eyes, but close enough to not raise suspicion. When Thomas arrives, Edith's waiting, her cloak pulled tight against the chill. They don't waste time, they talk fast, planning their next move. Edith tells him about the tapestry, how it could be their way out. Thomas hesitates. What if we're caught? He asks. Edith's eyes flash. Then we'll face it together. But fate's got other plans. As they lean in for a quick kiss, a twig snaps. It's not Alina this time. It's Godric, Thomas's master, out checking his traps. He doesn't see their faces, but he hears voices and stomps toward them. Edith and Thomas bolt, splitting up into the dark. Edith's heart's pounding as she ducks behind a haystack, praying Godric doesn't recognize her. She makes it home, but the close call shakes her. The village is small, and secrets don't stay buried long. The next day, rumors start swirling. Someone saw a couple near the oak, and the baker's wife is already spinning tales. Edith keeps her head down, focusing on her tapestry. She's almost done, and a merchant's due in the village soon. If she can sell it, she and Thomas might have a shot. But Alina's not done either. She corners Edith at the market, her voice low and venomous. I know it's you, she says, and I'll make sure everyone else does too. Edith doesn't flinch. Do what you must, she says, turning back to her stall. Inside, though, she's terrified. As the chapter ends, Edith's at her loom again. The tapestry nearly complete. It's her masterpiece, a story of love and defiance woven into every thread. She's not sure if she'll sell it or if she and Thomas will be exposed before then. But she's got something the village can't take. Hope in a world of rules and restrictions. That's her rebellion. Thanks for sticking with me. Folks, if you're hooked, hit that like button and subscribe for Chapter 3. Drop a comment with your predictions. Will Edith and Thomas make it? And keep chasing your own dreams, even when the odds feel medieval. See you next time. Word count. Und one thing to do. Story 1. The Weaver's Secret. Chapter 3. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. We're wrapping up the first story in our medieval romance saga. And let me tell you, it's getting intense. If you missed the last 2 chapters, go check them out. Then come right back. Tonight, Edith and Thomas are fighting for their love against a village full of gossip. a merchant's daughter with a vendetta, and a church that's way too invested in their personal business. Grab a snack, hit that like button if you're ready, and let's dive into the finale of The Weaver's Secret. Oh, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is. I love seeing our global crew. Edith's at her loom. The tapestry finished. It's a masterpiece. A knight and lady under a starry sky. Their hands almost touching, woven with threads so fine they shimmer. She's poured her heart into it, not just for Thomas, but for herself. This cloth is her way out, her defiance against a world that says love like hers doesn't belong. The merchant's arriving tomorrow, and if he buys it, Edith might have enough coin to leave with Thomas. But the village is buzzing with rumors, and Alina's threat hangs over her like a storm cloud. The gossip's gone from whispers to outright accusations. The baker's wife claims she saw a weaver near the oak at midnight, and the Reeve's been asking questions. Edith's parents are suspicious too, nagging her about the widower's proposal. He's got sheep, Edith, her mother says, as if love can be measured in wool. Edith nods, but her mind's on Thomas. He's been distant since Godric nearly caught them, and she's worried he's losing his nerve. Medieval life doesn't forgive dreamers, and Thomas's future at the forge is on the line. Let's talk about that medieval pressure. Marriage wasn't about feelings. It was about survival. Families like Edith's needed alliances to secure food, land, or protection. Thomas's engagement to Alina isn't just a promise. It's a contract, backed by her father's wealth. If he breaks it, Godric could fire him, and the village might shun him. Edith's no better off her weavings, her only leverage. But a ruined reputation could cost her customers and the church. It's like a medieval surveillance state. Priests don't just preach. They interrogate. Confession's a minefield, with questions about sinful embraces that make Edith's stomach churn. The church's rules are relentless. Intimacies for procreation, not passion, and half the calendar's off-limits Sunday. Lent? You name it. Edith and Thomas have to sneak around like spies, meeting in shadows or during chaotic village feasts. But every stolen moment feels like a victory. They're not just breaking rules, they're rewriting them. Edith's tapestry is proof, a story of love that defies the village's expectations, woven for the world to see. The merchant arrives at dawn, a wiry man with a sharp eye for quality. Edith meets him at the market, her tapestry folded carefully in her arms, the squares crowded, and she feels Alina's glare from across the stalls. The merchant unrolls the cloth, his fingers tracing the knight and lady. "This is fine work," he says. "I'll give you 10 shillings. It's more than Edith hoped enough to start over in a new town. She's about to agree when Alina steps forward, her voice loud enough for everyone to hear. "That weaver's a harlot," she declares. "She's been sneaking with the blacksmith's apprentice." The market goes silent. Edith's heart sinks as eyes turn to her. The merchant hesitates. Sensing trouble, Edith could deny it. But Alina's got witnesses, the baker's wife, the Reeve's son. She takes a deep breath, channeling every ounce of courage. "I love him," she says, her voice steady, "and I won't apologize for it." The crowd gasps. In medieval England, admitting that is like spitting in the priest's ale, but Edith's done hiding. She turns to the merchant. Buy the tapestry or don't. My work speaks for itself. To her surprise, the merchant nods. Love or no. This is worth 10 shillings. He hands her the coins, and Edith's hands tremble as she takes them. But the victory's short-lived. The reeve steps in, summoned by Alina's father. You'll answer to the church, he says, grabbing her arm. Edith's dragged to the village chapel, where the priest awaits, his face grim. Thomas is there too, hauled in by Godric. The air's thick with judgment. The priest doesn't mince words. Fornication before marriage is a sin. He thunders, confess, or face penance. Edith and Thomas exchange a glance. They could lie, claim it was just talk. But Edith's tired of secrets. We love each other, she says, and we'll marry. If you'll let us. The priest scoffs, love's no excuse. He orders them to pay a fine and do public penance, standing in the churchyard in sackcloth, shamed before the village. Alina smirks, thinking she's won, but Thomas steps forward. I'll pay the fine, he says, pulling out his savings, every penny he's earned at the forge. And I'll marry Edith, not Alina. Godric's furious, but Thomas stands tall. I choose her. The crowd murmurs, some in shock, others in grudging respect. Edith's heart swells. They're not out of the woods, but they're together. The penance is brutal. Edith and Thomas stand in the churchyard, heads bowed. As the village passes by, some jeer, but others, like the baker, slip them bread, whispering support. Edith clutches her 10 shillings, knowing it's their future. The church can shame them, but it can't break them. As the sun sets, they're released, and Thomas pulls her close. We'll leave tomorrow, he whispers. A new town, a new start? Edith nods. Her tapestry's story, now their own. And that's where we leave them. Folks a weaver and an apprentice, defying a village for love. Thanks for joining me. Hit that like button. Subscribe for the next story. And tell me in the comments what you thought of Edith's courage. Keep fighting for what matters, even if it's messy and medieval. See you soon. Word count. 176. Story 2. The Knight's Oath, Chapter 1. Hey, what's good? Everyone, welcome back to the channel. We're kicking off a brand new story tonight. And it's got everything chivalry, forbidden love, and a knight who's about to learn that honor's a lot heavier than his armor. If you're new, hit that subscribe button and join the crew. As always, drop a comment with where you're watching from and what time it is. I love knowing who's out there. Let's dim the lights. Maybe grab a medieval-inspired snack and dive into the world of 14th century France. Meet Sir Roland, a knight in the service of Lord Guillaume, a noble with a castle as grand as his temper. Roland's not your typical knight in shining armor. He's young, barely 22, with a scar on his cheek from a tourney gone wrong, and a heart that's more poet than warrior. He's good with a sword, sure, but what sets him apart is his oath, to serve with honor, no matter the cost. That oath is about to be tested, because Roland's fallen for someone he absolutely shouldn't. Lady Margot, Lord Guillaume's wife. Let's paint the picture. It's 1342, and France is a mess wars brewing. The plague's lurking, and castles are more like armed camps than fairy tale palaces. Roland lives in the keep, a stone fortress where privacy's a myth. Servants sleep in corners, guards patrol the halls, and the Lord's chamber is just a curtain away from the great hall. If Roland wants to steal a glance at Margot, he's got to do it in plain sight, during feasts or hunts, with 100 eyes watching, and trust me, those eyes miss nothing. Margot's no damsel in distress. She's sharp, with a wit that could cut steel, and a laugh that makes Roland forget his vows. She married Guillaume to seal an alliance, not for love. Guillaume's twice her age, more interested in his hounds than his wife, and not exactly winning husband of the year. Margot and Roland first locked eyes during a banquet, when she teased him about his clumsy bow. Now, they trade secret smiles and coded words, but they haven't crossed the line. Yet, the church looms large here, just like in our last story. In medieval France, adultery's not just a scandal, it's a crime. The church says intimacy's for making heirs, not chasing feelings. And they've got a whole calendar of no-go days. Sundays, Lent, you name it. Priests grill couples in confession, asking if they've sinned with passion. For a knight like Roland, the stakes are even higher. Adultery with the Lord's wife, that's treason. He could lose his title, his head, or both. Margot risks shame, exile, or worse, life in the castle's no picnic either. Most folks share beds or sleep on straw, so sneaking around's tough. Roland's quarters are a pallet in the barracks, and Margot's chamber is guarded by maids who report to Guillaume. Their only chance for a moment alone is during chaos, say, a hunt, when the court's distracted. But even then, gossip travels faster than a falcon. The court's a snake pit of ambition, and someone's always looking to curry favor by snitching. Roland's oath keeps him grounded, but it's also his cage. He swore to serve Guillaume, to protect the household, to be a model of virtue. Loving Margot betrays all that. He tries to stay stoic, telling himself to focus on duty, not desire. But every time Margot brushes past him in the hall, her sleeve grazing his arm, his resolve cracks. She's not helping. She drops hints, like leaving a ribbon on his saddle, daring him to act. One day, things escalate. During a hunt, the court scatters through the forest, and Roland finds himself alone with Margot. Her horse strays from the group, and he follows, heart pounding. They stop by a stream, the air thick with tension. "You avoid me. Sir Roland," she says, her eyes teasing. "Is my company so dreadful?" Roland swallows hard. "It's not dreadful," he says. "It's dangerous." Margot steps closer. "Then why do you keep coming back?" Before he can answer, a horn sounds. Guillaume's calling the hunt. They part, but the line's been crossed. Words are one thing, feelings are another. Back at the castle, Roland's on edge. He knows he's playing with fire. Medieval courts were brutal. Noble women were pawns in alliances, and their honor was the family's currency. If Guillaume suspects anything, Margot could be locked away, and Roland could face a noose. The church's rules don't help with their obsession over proper love. Roland's heard of knights flogged for lesser sins, and confessions no safe haven. Priests love digging into impure thoughts. Roland's not alone in his struggle. Margot's trapped too, bound by a marriage she didn't choose. She's not naive. She knows the risks, but craves something real, something Guillaume can't give. She and Roland start finding ways to communicate. A note slipped into a prayer book, a glance during Vespers. It's thrilling, but every move tightens the noose. As the chapter closes, Roland's polishing his armor, his mind a battlefield. His oath demands loyalty, but his heart demands Margot. He's not sure how long he can resist, or what he'll lose if he doesn't. In a world of swords and sermons, love's the most dangerous weapon of all. Thanks for joining me. Folks, smash that like button, subscribe for Chapter 2, and let me know in the comments what Roland should do. Keep chasing your own honor, even if it's complicated. See you next time. Word count. Zita Quartieren. Story 2. The Knight's Oath. Chapter 2. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the channel, where we're knee-deep in our medieval drama, The Knight's Oath. If you're just joining us, go binge. Chapter 1 to get the scoop on Sir Roland and Lady Margot's dangerous flirtation. Tonight, things are heating up, and I'm not talking about the castle hearth. Hit that like button if you're pumped. Subscribe to stay in the loop, and drop a comment with where you're watching from and what time it is. I love seeing our global squad. Let's settle in and ride back to 14th century France. Roland's in the barracks, sharpening his sword, but his mind's on Margot. That moment by the stream during the hunt has him rattled. Her words, "Why do you keep coming back?" echo in his head. He's a knight, bound by an oath to Lord Guillaume, but every glance from Margot chips away at his honor. The castle's a pressure cooker. Servants gossip, guards watch, and Guillaume's temper could flare at any moment. Roland's walking a tightrope, and the fall could be deadly. Life in a medieval castle is no fairy tale. It's a stone maze of shared spaces, great halls, cramped corridors, and chambers separated by flimsy curtains. Privacy's a fantasy. Roland sleeps on a pallet with other knights, their snores drowning out his thoughts. Margot's room is fancier, but her maids are loyal to Guillaume, reporting every move. If Roland and Margot want to talk, they've got to be sly, slipping notes in prayer books, or meeting during chaotic court events. But every whisper risks exposure. The church is the biggest buzzkill. In 1342, they're obsessed with controlling love, intimacies for making heirs, not stealing hearts. And they've got a calendar of forbidden days, Sundays, Lent, Advent, you name it. Priests grill you in confession, asking if you've lusted unduly or embraced with fervor. Roland's been dodging confession, but he can't forever. Adultery's not just a sin, it's treason when it involves the Lord's wife. Margot could be banished, and Roland could lose his head, Literally, medieval society doesn't make it easier. Marriage is a chess move. Nobles like Guillaume wed to secure alliances, not for love. Margot was traded to unite two families, her feelings irrelevant. Roland's oath ties him to Guillaume's service, but his heart's with Margot. He tries to stay stoic, focusing on duty, but her ribbon, still tucked in his saddlebag, burns a hole in his resolve. Margot's no passive player either. She's bold, dropping hints like a gauntlet, daring Roland to choose her over honor. One night, opportunity strikes. The castle's hosting a feast for a visiting baron, and the great hall's a riot of music, parley, and chaos. Roland's on duty, guarding the high table, when Margot slips him a note. Chapel, after Compline. It's risky Compline's the last prayer of the day. When the castle quiets, but Roland can't resist. He tells himself he'll just talk, keep his oath intact. Yeah, right. In the chapel, moonlight spills through stained glass, casting colors on Margot's face. She's waiting, her cloak pooling around her. I can't keep pretending, she says. Guillaume doesn't see me. You do. Roland's torn. My oath. He starts, but Margot cuts him off. Your oath keeps you chained. What about your heart? They're inches apart. The air electric. Roland leans in, but a creak from the door stops him cold. It's a servant, fetching candles. They freeze, then slip out separately. Hearts racing. The close call shakes Roland. He knows they're playing with fire. Medieval courts are brutal, noble women. Like Margot are pawns. Their honor tied to family power. If Guillaume suspects, he could lock her away, or worse. Roland's heard of knights executed for less, their names erased from the rolls. The church's rules are relentless, frowning on excessive passion even in marriage. Roland's oath demands loyalty, but his love for Margot demands rebellion. Margot's not backing down. She starts taking bigger risks, brushing his hand during a dance, leaving a flower on his shield. Each gesture's a challenge. Choose me. Roland's stoicism is crumbling. He reads Marcus Aurelius by candlelight, trying to anchor himself, control what you can, accept what you cannot. But Margot's not a storm he can weather. She's a fire he wants to burn in. Trouble brews when Guillaume notices Margot's distraction. He's not affectionate, but he's possessive. During a council, he snaps at Roland for no reason, his eyes sharp. Later, a maid loyal to Guillaume corners Roland. I saw you in the chapel, she hisses. Confess, or I tell the Lord. Roland's stomach drops. He could deny it. But maids don't bluff without evidence. He's got a choice. Come clean and face ruin, or double down and protect Margot. As the chapter ends, Roland's in the courtyard, staring at the stars, his sword's at his side. But it's useless against this enemy. His oath, his honor, his love, they're tearing him apart. He knows one thing. He can't keep running. In a world of lords and laws, love's a battlefield, and Roland's about to choose his side. Thanks for watching, folks. Hit that like button, subscribe for Chapter 3, and tell me in the comments what Roland should do. Keep fighting for what matters, even if it's messy and medieval. Catch you next time. Word count. 1. Story 2. The Knight's Oath. Chapter 3. Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. We're closing out The Knight's Oath tonight, and it's a wild ride. If you missed chapters 1 and 2, go catch up. Sir Roland and Lady Margot's forbidden love is about to hit a breaking point. Grab a drink, hit that like button if you're ready, and let's dive into the finale of this 14th century French drama. Drop a comment with where you're watching from and what time it is. I love seeing our global crew. Let's get to it. Roland's in the courtyard, the maid's threat ringing in his ears. Confess, or I tell the Lord. His love for Margot has pushed him to the edge, and now he's staring down ruin. The castle's a tinderbox, Lord Guillaume's suspicious. The court's whispering, and the church is ready to pounce. Roland's oath to serve with honor feels like a noose. But Margot's the one thing he can't let go. In medieval France, love like this isn't just risky. It's a death sentence. The castle's a pressure cooker. Privacy's non-existent servants sleep in halls. Guards patrol, and Margot's chamber is watched like a hawk. Roland and Margot have been clever, passing notes and stealing moments. But every move's a gamble. The church doesn't help. With its rules against sinful passion, adultery's a crime, and for a knight, bedding the Lord's wife, it's treason. Roland could face execution. Margot could be exiled, or worse. Confession's no escape. Priests dig into impure thoughts like they're solving a murder. Medieval society's brutal. Marriage is about power, not love. Margot was wed to Guillaume to seal an alliance. Her happiness irrelevant. Roland's oath binds him to Guillaume's service. But his heart's with Margot. He's tried to stay stoic, clinging to duty. But Margot's boldness, her notes, her glances has cracked his armor. Now, with the maid's threat, he's out of time. He needs a plan, and fast. Roland decides to confront the maid. He finds her in the kitchen, scrubbing pots. "What do you want?" he asks, keeping his voice low. She smirks. "Coin! Or, I tell Guillaume you were in the chapel with her ladyship." Roland's got no money. Knights aren't rich, just loyal. He tries to appeal to her heart. "You'd ruin a woman for a few shillings." The maid shrugs. "Loyalty's to the Lord, not her." Roland leaves, knowing she'll talk unless he acts. He meets Margot in secret, in the stables during a storm. The rain masks their voices as they huddle by the hay. The maid knows, Roland says. Margot's face pales, but she doesn't flinch. "Then we run," she says. "Leave tonight." Roland hesitates. Running means abandoning his oath, his honor, everything he's built. But staying means losing Margot or their lives. "Guillaume will hunt us," he warns. Margot grabs his hand. "Let him. I'd rather die free than live caged." Roland's torn. He thinks of Marcus Aurelius. Accept what you cannot control. He can't control Guillaume, the church, or the maid. But he can control his choice. He nods. "We'll go at dawn. When the gate's unguarded, They plan to head south, to a port where no one knows them. It's a desperate move, but it's theirs. But fate's cruel. That night, Guillaume summons Roland to the great hall. The Lord's eyes are cold. I hear rumors, he says. You and my wife. Roland's heart stops. The maids talked. Or someone else has. He denies it. But Guillaume's not convinced. You'll prove your loyalty, he says. Guard the eastern tower tonight. Alone, it's a trap. Roland knows it. If he's in the tower, he can't meet Margot. If he runs, he's guilty. Roland goes to the tower, his mind racing. He's got one chance. He scribbles a note to Margot, slipping it to a page boy he trusts. Meet me at dawn, South Gate. As the night drags on, he paces, his sword heavy. His oath screams duty, but his heart screams Margot. At dawn, he slips away, praying the guards are lazy. He reaches the South Gate, and Margot's there, a cloak hiding her face. They're about to run when hooves thunder. Guillaume's men, led by the maid's tip. Roland draws his sword, but Margot stops him. No blood, she says. We face this. They're dragged before Guillaume. The court assembled, the lords furious. You betray me, he roars. Roland steps forward. I love her, he says, voice steady. Punish me, not her. The court gasps. In medieval France, that's a death wish. Guillaume hesitates. Margot's alliance is too valuable to lose. He banishes Roland instead, stripped of title, exiled forever. Margot's confined to her chamber, her maids doubled. But as Roland's led away, Margot slips him a ring, her promise. Find me, she whispers. Roland nods, his heart breaking but unbroken. The chapter ends with Roland on a dusty road, penniless but free. His oath's gone, but his love endures. In a world of lords and laws, he's chosen Margot, and that's his honor. Thanks for watching. Folks, smash that like button, subscribe for the next story, and tell me in the comments what you think of Roland's choice. Keep chasing your truth, even if it's medieval and messy. See you soon. Word count? 1329. Story 3. The Scribe's Vow. Chapter 1. Hey, what's good, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. We're starting a fresh story tonight, and it's a quiet but powerful one. Think ink-stained fingers, hidden love, and a monastery where secrets burn brighter than candles. If you're new, hit that subscribe button and join us. Drop a comment with where you're watching from and what time it is. I love seeing who's out there. Let's get cozy and step into 12th century Germany, where one scribe's about to risk everything for love. Meet Brother Anselm, a monk in a Benedictine monastery perched on a snowy hill. He's 25, with a scholar's stoop and eyes that see more than manuscripts. Anselm's a scribe, copying ancient texts by candlelight. His quill scratching out wisdom from Plato to Augustine. He's taken vows: poverty, chastity, obedience, but there's one vow he's struggling with. Chastity, because Anselm's in love with Sister Claire, a nun from the nearby convent. and their connections about to shake his world. Picture this: a monastery in 1180. All stone walls and frosty air. Monks sleep in dormitories, their straw pallets lined up like soldiers. Privacy? Nope. Meals are in the refectory. Prayers are in the chapel. And the abbot's always watching. Anselm's only alone when he's in the scriptorium, hunched over parchment. That's where he first met Claire, delivering a psalter for her convent. She was sharp, quoting Gregory the Great, like it was gossip, and her smile hit Anselm like a lightning bolt. Claire's no ordinary nun. She's 22, with a mind as quick as her needle, stitching altar cloths with the same precision Anselm uses on manuscripts. She joined the convent young, sent by a family who couldn't afford a dowry. Like Anselm, she's vowed chastity, but their late-night talks about scripture, philosophy, and the stars have grown into something more. They're not just friends, they're soulmates. And that's dangerous in a world where love's a sin. The church runs everything here. Monastic life is strict. No privacy, no distractions, no carnal desires. Intimacy's forbidden. Period. Not for procreation, not for love. The rule of Saint Benedict says monks and nuns should avoid particular friendships, and abbots enforce it with an iron grip. If Anselm and Claire are caught, they could face penance, exile, or worse, defrocking. Confession's a trap. Priests ask pointed questions about impure thoughts, and Anselm's been dodging it, afraid his heart will spill. Medieval monasteries aren't built for romance. Walls are thick, but secrets leak. Anselm and Claire meet in stolen moments when he delivers manuscripts to the convent, or during rare joint services. They pass notes in books, lines of poetry tucked between psalms. It's risky, but it's all they have. The world outside's no kinder marriage is for alliances, and love's a luxury peasants and nobles alike can't afford. For monks and nuns, it's outright rebellion. Anselm tries to stay stoic, channeling Epictetus: control your desires, accept your fate. But Claire's different. Her laughter, her questions, they make him feel alive, not just holy. One day, things shift. During a Vespers service, Claire slips him a note. Meet me in the herb garden. Midnight. The garden's between the monastery and convent. Neutral ground, but exposed. Anselm's torn. His vows demand obedience, but his heart demands Claire. He goes. The garden's dark, herbs scenting the air. Claire's there, her veil loosened. I can't keep pretending, she says. I love you. Anselm's breath catches. We're vowed to God, he says, but his voice wavers. Claire steps closer. God gave us hearts. Why can't we use them? They don't touch, but the words are enough. They're crossing a line, and there's no going back. The next day, Anselm's in the scriptorium, copying a Stoic text. What's in your control? It asks. He can't control the church. The abbot or Claire's pull, but he can control his choice. He starts writing a letter to Claire, hidden in a manuscript's margin, promising to find a way. But trouble's brewing. The abbots noticed Anselm's late-night walks and a monk's been asking why he's so distracted. As the chapter closes, Anselm's at his desk, quill trembling. His vows are his anchor, but Claire's his star in a world of parchment and prayer. Love's the most dangerous ink of all. Thanks for joining me. Folks, hit that like button, subscribe for Chapter 2, and tell me in the comments what Anselm should do. Keep chasing your truth, even if it's medieval and messy. See you next time. Word count. 132. Story 3. The Scribe's Vow. Chapter 2. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the channel, where we're diving deeper into The Scribe's Vow. If you missed Chapter 1, go check it out to catch up on Brother Anselm and Sister Claire's forbidden love in a 12th century monastery. Tonight, the stakes are climbing, and the candles are burning low. Hit that like button if you're excited. Subscribe to stay with us, and drop a comment with where you're watching from and what time it is. I love seeing our global crew. Let's settle in and return to the snowy hills of medieval Germany. Anselm's in the scriptorium, his quill scratching out a psalm, but his mind's on Claire. That midnight meeting in the herb garden has changed everything. Her words, God gave us heart's echo in his soul, shaking the vows he's lived by for years. He's a monk, bound to poverty, chastity, and obedience, but loves making a heretic out of him. The monastery's stone walls feel tighter, the abbot's gaze sharper, and every creak in the corridor sounds like trouble. Life in a medieval monastery is like living under a microscope. Monks share dormitories, eat in silence, and pray 7 times a day. Privacy's a myth. Anselm's only alone when he's copying manuscripts, and even then, other scribes are nearby. Claire's in the convent, a mile away. Under the same rules, their meetings are stolen. A quick word during manuscript deliveries, a note hidden in a book. But every moment's a risk. The church forbids particular friendships, and the abbot's got a nose for sin. The church's grip is iron. Monastic vows aren't just promises, they're chains. Chastity means no love, no desire, no warmth beyond God. Intimacy's a sin, whether it's a touch or a thought. And confession's a minefield. Priests ask about carnal stirrings, and Anselm's been mumbling vague answers, terrified he'll betray Claire. If they're caught, they could face flogging, solitary confinement, or expulsion. In 1180, that's a death sentence ex-monks don't exactly get hired at the local tavern. Medieval society doesn't help. Love's a transaction peasants marry for land, nobles for alliances, monks and nuns. They're supposed to marry God, not each other. Anselm and Claire's connection is a rebellion against the church's order. Anselm tries to stay stoic, quoting Epictetus. Focus on what you can control. But Claire's not a storm he can ignore. She's a light he can't turn away from. Her notes, tucked in psalters, are poetry. My soul is a page, and you're the ink. One night, Anselm takes a chance. He sneaks to the herb garden again, leaving a note in a rosemary bush. Meet me, same hour. Claire's there, her eyes bright in the dark. We can't keep doing this, Anselm says, but his heart's racing. Claire grabs his hand her first touch. Then, let's do more, she says. Let's run! Anselm's stunned. Leaving means breaking their vows, abandoning God, facing a world that shuns apostates. But Claire's resolve is fire. I'd rather live one day with you than a lifetime without, she says. They don't kiss, but the touch lingers. They plan to meet again, plotting an escape to a distant town. Anselm's torn. His vows are his life, but Claire's his soul. He buries their notes in manuscripts, coding love into Latin. But the abbot's suspicious. He calls Anselm to his chamber, his voice cold. You've been distracted, he says. Confess, or I'll search the scriptorium. Anselm lies, claiming fatigue. But the abbot's not fooled. He assigns a monk to watch him. Claire's under pressure too. Her abbess has noticed her late-night walks, and a nun's reported a strange note in a book. The convent's tightening its grip, and Claire's running out of excuses. She sends Anselm a desperate message. We leave soon, or not at all. Anselm's in the chapel, praying for guidance. But God's silent. He thinks of Marcus Aurelius. Choose your actions, not your fate. His choice is clear. But the cost is crushing. As the chapter ends, Anselm's at his desk, copying a Stoic text by candlelight. His vows are crumbling, but Claire's worth it. In a world of prayer and parchment, love's the most dangerous vow of all. Thanks for watching. Folks, smash that like button, subscribe for Chapter 3, and tell me in the comments what Anselm should do. Keep chasing your heart, even if it's medieval and messy. See you next time. Word count. Aton 47. Story 3. The Scribe's Vow. Chapter 3. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. We're wrapping up The Scribe's Vow tonight, and it's a heart-pounding finale. If you missed chapters 1 and 2, go binge them to catch up on Brother Anselm and Sister Claire's forbidden love in a 12th century monastery. Grab a cozy blanket, hit that like button if you're ready, and let's dive into the end of this medieval drama. Drop a comment with where you're watching from and what time it is. I love our global crew. Let's do this. Anselm's in the scriptorium, his quill trembling as he copies a psalm. Claire's note, we leave soon, or not at all, burns in his mind. Their love's a wildfire, threatening to consume their vows of chastity and obedience. The monastery's closing in the abbot's watching, a monk's tailing him, and the convent's onto Claire. In 1180 Germany, monks and nuns don't get to fall in love. They're gods, not each other's, and breaking that rule means ruin. Monastic life's a cage. Anselm shares a dormitory with snoring monks, prays in a packed chapel, and works under the scriptorium's watchful eyes. Privacy's a dream. His only freedom's in the margins of manuscripts, where he hides love notes for Claire. She's a mile away. Under the same scrutiny, their meetings in the herb garden are reckless. But they're all they have. The church is merciless. Love's a sin, and particular friendships are forbidden. If caught, they'll face penance. exile or defrocking a death sentence in a world that shuns apostates. The Church's rules are brutal. Chastity means no touch, no desire, no warmth. Confession's a trap. Priests probe for carnal thoughts, and Anselm's dodging it, afraid he'll betray Claire. Medieval society's no kinder loves for alliances, not hearts. Anselm and Claire's connection is a revolt against God and man. Anselm tries to stay stoic, quoting Epictetus, "Control what you can." But Claire's not a storm. He can't resist her light. Anselm plans their escape. He writes to Claire, hidden in a manuscript. Tomorrow, dawn, by the river, they'll head to a port, blend in as pilgrims. Its desperate ex-monks and nuns are outcasts, and the Church hunts runaways. But Claire's worth it. Anselm's vows are his past. Claire's his future. He buries their plan in a psalter, praying no one finds it. But the abbot's one step ahead. He summons Anselm, holding a book, Claire's last note, found by a monk. "You've broken your vows," he says. Voice like ice, Anselm's heart stops. He could lie, but the abbot's got proof. Confess, he demands. Anselm's silent. Thinking of Claire, the abbot locks him in a cell, promising a trial. Claire's fate is worse. Her abbess has confined her, suspecting the same sin. Anselm's alone, the cell cold. He thinks of Marcus Aurelius. Accept what you cannot control. He can't save Claire from the convent, but he can protect her name. At the trial, before monks and nuns, the abbot presents the note. "Admit your sin," he says. Anselm stands tall. "I love her," he says, voice clear, "but I acted alone. She's innocent." The crowd gasps love's heresy. Claire, brought to witness, shakes her head, tears falling. "He lies," she says. "I love him too." The abbot's furious. Love's a crime, and they've confessed. He could defrock them, but their honesty sways him. Instead, he exiles them, Anselm to a distant monastery, Claire to another convent, never to meet again. As they're led away, Claire slips Anselm a scrap of parchment. "My heart is yours." Anselm clutches it, his vows broken, but his love whole. The chapter ends with Anselm on a cart, the monastery fading. He's lost everything, his calling, his home, but gained something greater. Claire's love, carried in his heart, in a world of prayer and parchment. They've rewritten their vows. Thanks for watching. Folks, hit that like button. Subscribe for the next story. And tell me in the comments what you think of Anselm and Claire's choice. Keep chasing your truth, even if it's medieval and messy. See you soon. Word count. Shalom 70 altar. Story 4. The Merchant's Daughter. Chapter 1. Hey, what's good? Everyone! Welcome back to the channel. We're kicking off our final story tonight, and it's a spicy mix of ambition, love, and medieval hustle. If you're new, hit that subscribe button and join the crew. Drop a comment with where you're watching from and what time it is. I love seeing who's out there. Let's grab a cozy vibe and dive into 15th century Italy, where one merchant's daughter is about to flip the script on love and power. Meet Isabella, Nine, daughter of a wealthy Venetian merchant named Lorenzo. She's got her father's charm and her mother's wit, with eyes that could sell silk to a monk. Isabella's no noble, but in Venice, money talks louder than titles. Her family's palazzo is stacked with spices, gold, and secrets, and Isabella's been groomed to marry up way up. Problem is, she's got her heart set on Matteo, a shipwright with calloused hands and no fortune in a city of canals and contracts. Love's a risky investment. Picture Venice in 1450. Glittering waterways, bustling markets, and palazzos crammed with servants and spies. Privacy's a luxury. Isabella's room is fancy, but maids report to Lorenzo, and the household's always buzzing. Matteo lives in a dockside shack, sharing a bed with his brothers. If they want to meet, it's in crowded piazzas or shadowy gondolas, dodging her father's men. The church is watching too, with its rules about proper love, intimacies for marriage, and half the year's off-limits Lent, Sundays, you name it. Isabella's no damsel. She's been balancing her father's books since she was 12, slipping deals under his nose. Matteo's her opposite quiet, steady, building ships that carry her family's wealth. They met when he repaired Lorenzo's galley, their banter sparking over nails and tar. Now, they steal moments at the Rialto, passing notes in spice sacks. But Lorenzo's got plans. He wants Isabella to wed a Florentine banker, sealing a trade alliance. Matteo's a nobody, and love doesn't pay for galleys. The church's grip is tight. In Venice, priests quiz couples in confession about sinful desires, and Isabella's learn to dodge their probes. Adultery's a scandal, but premarital romance is just as bad. Her reputation's her dowry, and one rumor could sink it. Medieval marriage is a business deal. Daughters like Isabella are traded for power or coin. Lorenzo's deal with the banker includes a fat dowry and a trade route. Matteo's got nothing but his hammer and his heart. Isabella's not giving up. She's got a plan. Use her father's wealth to buy her freedom. She's been skimming profits, hiding coins in a locked chest. If she can save enough, she and Matteo could run to a rival city, maybe Genoa, but it's risky. Venetian merchants don't forgive betrayal, and Lorenzo's got spies everywhere. Matteo's hesitant he loves Isabella, but fears dragging her into poverty. You're silk, he tells her. I'm oak, she laughs. Oak lasts longer. One day, things heat up. During a market deal, Isabella slips Matteo a note. Meet me at the dock. Midnight. She hires a gondolier, cloaked to avoid eyes. At the dock, Matteo's waiting, his face lit by torchlight. This is madness, he says, but his arms pull her close. Then let's be mad, Isabella whispers. They kiss, the canal lapping around them. It's their first, and it's electric, but a lantern swings nearby. It's one of Lorenzo's men, patrolling. They dive behind crates, hearts pounding, and escape. The close call shakes Isabella. She knows time's running out. Lorenzo's pushing the banker's suit, and the wedding's months away. She doubles down, skimming more from deals. But a maid's noticed her late-night outings. The church's rules loom large priests, frown on excessive affection, and Isabella's dodging confession in Venice loves a rebellion, and she's all in. As the chapter closes, Isabella's in her room, counting coins by candlelight. Matteo's her future, but her father's her jailer. In a city of gold and gondolas, love's the most dangerous cargo of all. Thanks for joining me. Folks, hit that like button, subscribe for Chapter 2, and tell me in the comments what Isabella should do. Keep chasing your dreams, even if they're medieval and messy. See you next time. Word count. Zaczyna what a one. Story 4. The Merchant's Daughter. Chapter 2. Hey, everyone! Welcome back to the channel, where we're diving deeper into The Merchant's Daughter. If you missed Chapter 1, go check it out to catch up on Isabella and Matteo's risky romance in 15th century Venice. Tonight, the canals are buzzing, and the stakes are sky high. Hit that like button if you're pumped. Subscribe to keep up, and drop a comment with where you're watching from and what time it is. I love seeing our global squad. Let's glide back to the city of gold and secrets. Isabella's in her palazzo, her locked chest heavier with stolen coins. Her plan to run away with Matteo, the shipwright, is taking shape, but every step's a gamble. Her father, Lorenzo, is pushing her to marry a Florentine banker, and the wedding's creeping closer. That kiss on the dock has Isabella's heart racing, but the patrol's lantern reminded her Venice never sleeps, and neither do its spies. Matteo's her dream, but her father's her jailer, and the church is ready to judge. Venetian life is a spectacle. Palazzos glitter, but privacy's a myth. Isabella's room is lush, but maids report to Lorenzo Matteo's dockside shack is worse, shared with his brothers and the stink of tar. Their meetings are stolen. A glance at the Rialto, a note in a spice sack. The church is relentless, forbidding sinful passion, intimacies for marriage, and priests grill you in confession about immodest desires. Isabella's dodging it, but one slip could ruin her dowry and her life. Medieval Venice is all about power. Marriage is a contract, and Isabella's a pawn in Lorenzo's trade game. The banker's deal means wealth and roots. Matteo's love means nothing to a merchant. Isabella's skimming profits. But it's dangerous. Lorenzo's men watch every coin. Matteo's torn, he adores Isabella, but fears he'll drag her down. You're meant for palaces, he says. Isabella's fierce. I'm meant for you. Her coins are their ticket to Genoa. But time's running out. Isabella ups the ante. She forges a deal under Lorenzo's nose, selling silk at a markup and pocketing the difference. She slips Matteo a note. Gondola, midnight. By the bridge. At the meeting, they plan their escape, steal a boat. Sail at dawn. Matteo hesitates. If we're caught, you lose everything. Isabella grabs his hand. I'd rather lose it all than lose you. They part, but a maid's seen Isabella sneak out. And she's loyal to Lorenzo. The next day, Lorenzo's suspicious. He corners Isabella. "You've been distant," he says, eyes sharp. The banker expects a bride, not a dreamer. Isabella plays innocent, but her heart's pounding. The maids whispered to Lorenzo's steward, and they're watching her. The church doesn't help its rules against excessive affection make love a crime. Isabella's been dodging confession, but priests are nosy, and rumors are spreading. Isabella and Matteo meet again. In a crowded festival, masks hide their faces as they dance, plotting in whispers. 3 days, Isabella says. "We leave then." Matteo nods, but his eyes are worried. As they slip away, a figure watches Lorenzo's steward. Tailing them, Isabella doesn't see, but she feels the danger. She buries more coins. Her chest nearly full. Genoa's close, but so is discovery. As the chapter ends, Isabella's in her room, counting her hoard. Matteo's her future, but Venice's her cage. In a city of canals and contracts, love's the most dangerous deal of all. Thanks for watching, folks. Smash that like button, subscribe for Chapter 3, and tell me in the comments what Isabella should do. Keep chasing your heart, even if it's medieval and messy. See you next time. Word count 10-23. Story 4. The Merchant's Daughter. Chapter 3. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. We're closing out The Merchant's Daughter tonight, and it's a nail-biter. If you missed chapters 1 and 2, go binge them to catch up on Isabella and Matteo's high-stakes love in 15th century Venice. Grab a snack, hit that like button if you're ready, and let's dive into the finale of this canal-side drama. Drop a comment with where you're watching from and what time it is. I love our global crew. Let's sail in. Isabella's in her palazzo, her chest brimming with stolen coins. Her plan to flee with Matteo to Genoa is set for dawn, but Venice is closing in. Lorenzo's steward saw them at the festival, and her father's onto her. The banker's wedding looms, and the church's rules against sinful love are a noose. Isabella's heart's with Matteo, but her world's a trap spies in the palazzo, priests in the confessional, and a city that never sleeps. Venice is a gilded cage. Isabella's room is grand, but maids snitch to Lorenzo. Matteo's shack by the docks offers no refuge. Their secret meetings notes in spice sacks. Whispers in gondolas are crumbling under scrutiny. The church is ruthless. Intimacies for marriage and excessive affection is a sin. Isabella's dodged confession, but priests ask about carnal desires, and one rumor could destroy her dowry. If Lorenzo learns of Matteo, she's finished. Medieval Venice is cutthroat. Marriage is a trade deal. Isabella's betrothal to the banker secures Lorenzo's empire. Matteo's a shipwright, worthless in her father's eyes. Isabella's skimmed enough coins to escape, but Lorenzo's steward's report has him raging. "You'll marry the banker," he tells her, locking her room. Isabella's defiant, but trapped. Matteo's ready to steal a boat, but he fears for her. "You're risking too much," he says. Isabella's fierce. "You're worth it." Isabella plans a final move. She slips a note to Matteo through a servant. Dawn, West Dock. She'll sneak out during the night watch's change. But the steward's watching, and Lorenzo's tightened security, Isabella fakes illness, staying in her room to avoid suspicion. She packs her coins, hiding them in a cloak. The church's shadow looms. Priests condemn rebellious daughters. And Isabella knows exposure means shame, or worse. At midnight, disaster strikes. Lorenzo bursts in, holding a note Matteo's, intercepted by the steward. "You'd betray me for a shipwright," he roars. Isabella's heart sinks. The stewards found her chest, and the coins are gone. Lorenzo locks her in, vowing to marry her off tomorrow. Matteo's arrested, accused of theft. Isabella's alone, her plan in ruins. She thinks of Seneca. Control what you can. She can't save Matteo, but she can fight. Dawn breaks, and Isabella's dragged to the church for the betrothal. Matteo's there, bound, facing exile. The banker's smug. Lorenzo's triumphant. But Isabella's not done. Before the priest, she speaks. "I love Matteo," she says, voice ringing. "I'll marry no other." The crowd gasps. Defiance is scandal. Lorenzo's furious. But the banker hesitates. Her dowry's tainted now. Matteo's eyes meet hers. Proud, Lorenzo relents, fearing a feud. He banishes Matteo and disowns Isabella, casting her out with nothing. But as she's led away, Matteo breaks free, joining her. They're penniless. But together, the chapter ends with them on a stolen boat. Venice fading in a city of gold and gondolas. They've chosen love, the most dangerous deal of all. Thanks for watching, folks. Hit that like button. Subscribe for more stories. And tell me in the comments what you thought of Isabella's choice. Keep chasing your truth, even if it's medieval and messy. See you soon. Word count. 172.